Well, the first thing I kind of want to run by you is a quote that I've been using, thinking about, which is that our entire physical, mental, and emotional experience is an outer reflection of our internal, I guess, condition or internal emotional condition. And I don't know, did you want to explain that a little bit? How what's going on physically and mentally and emotionally is a reflection of something inside of us?
Well, that would go, you want me to explain the pathway of awareness? Because that will go into the explanation of the pathway of awareness. Because, I mean, that's what's necessary. You know, the pathway of awareness is what is one of the insights or the revelations I had about this work that comes out of doing ceremonial work and seeing how ceremonial work, specifically the ceremonial work that I was involved in, was about taking someone, moving someone's awareness from the physical, through the mental, through the emotional, into having what one would say would be a vibrational experience. And then the vibrational experience would be an awareness of the part of oneself that is unchanging, whatever that is, the unchangeable, right? The one that's having the experience, that's not the experience, but having the experience. So there was that, the ceremonies that I did showed that was the intent of the ceremony. Whether the people running the ceremony were aware of it or not, I don't think they were aware that that's what they were doing, but that's what they did because that's what worked, right? They moved you from physical through the mental, through the emotional, and eventually got to this place that where everyone felt comfortable because it was the unchanging space. And in that space, people could look at their experiences in a way that they weren't lost in them or completely identifying with them, and therefore be able to make an adjustment to them as an observer to the experience as opposed to someone lost in the experience. So that was the one revelation. And then later than that, I had another revelation, which was that when we come into this experience of the world, that we're reversing that pathway. So we're having the experience in the womb, which I call the vibrational experience. Because the womb, we can only be. We can't do anything in the womb. There's no doing going whatsoever. We're being. And our experience in that womb, the reason why I came on the word of vibrational, which I prefer to use rather than spiritual, is because in the womb we're almost exclusively having a vibrational experience. We're not, no one in the womb is going, I feel afraid, or I feel. There's no concepts going on. There's none of that. It's just the vibrations that we receive through our mother's body. It's a constant orchestra of vibrations. And then when we leave the womb, we're emotional beings first. No child comes out the womb and starts talking immediately. No child comes out the womb and starts functioning physically independent. So the awareness isn't in the mental or the physical, but the child comes out and starts behaving emotionally. And only then it starts using the emotions as a means to mentally mentally control the experience, and only then does it get to a point where it can physically behave independently. And that pathway of awareness is also seen in childhood. The first 7 years we call childhood as emotional period, and then in the next 7 years we go into very focused mental development schooling, and then after that we go into we go through a puberty, a physiological change, and we become more physically aware of the world, or physically involved in the world. What am I going to do in this world? So again, you see the pathway of awareness going from vibrational in the womb, emotional childhood, the mental years of the schooling and the teenage, and then really into the physical, really participating fully physically in life. So that pathway is there, and in working on my own situation, I first found that I tried to do physical things to adjust the quality of my experience, and they had no impact. In the moment that I did something physical, it would have an impact because there was a physical adjustment, and so because I saw a physical change in my circumstances, if I moved from this place to that place to feel better, I would for a moment think this was working because there was a physical adjustment.
Seemed to work.
Right, it seemed to work. And then, but then you would find that same level of discomfort would return that was there before the physical adjustment made. And so there, from that place, I went into making mental adjustments. Well, let me change the way I think about what's going on. But I still found that even though I changed the way I think about what's going on, there's still that feeling underlying it that never changed. No matter how much I changed my thinking, it didn't change. There was still this experience of discomfort underlying it that was unaltered by the thinking. And so that was the revelation, is that in the first 7 years, what happens is we go through an experience of imprinting, where the emotional body is impacted. Whatever experience we have in the first 7 years in our world impacts our emotional body with a particular pattern. And that pattern is again imprinted from 7 to 14 as a mental pattern, and is imprinted again as a physical circumstance from 14 on to 21. And so those patterns are inherent in our behavior all the way into our life. But if we want to adjust them, if we adjust the physical is an effect of that initial emotional imprinting. The mental is an effect of that initial emotional imprinting. What I discovered was only when I went in and made the emotional adjustment in myself did the mental and physical aspect of that expression become resolved. So I, at one point, I had a really severe physical ailment, and I tried to impact it physically. I got exhausted by doing that. Then I tried to impact it mentally and do the I create my own reality, and I'm actually a healthy person and changing the way I think. And then I went in and actually allowed myself to feel the emotional signatures underlying that condition and sink into those, which were fear, anger, and rage. And only when I allowed the fear, anger, and rage to surface into my awareness, and I allowed them to be there, I didn't try and get rid of them. Initially, you try and get rid of them, but I didn't try and, eventually I got it that you don't get rid of that stuff. That's your gems. That awakens your feeling body. So only when I integrated that, or allowed the fear, anger, and grief to be there and to surface, and allow those energies that have been sedated and suppressed to move again, did my mental and physical circumstances adjust in an irreversible way. So the pain didn't come back, right? At points it did come back, and then I realized there's more there. I'd go down and do more emotional work, then it'll be gone again. So
did that actually resolve the physical pain?
It resolved the physical pain, but I have no doubt that if I return to the same level of behavior, of unconscious behavior, of suppressing and sedating my emotional body, right? The emotional stuff that I go through on a daily basis, if I suppress my emotional body awareness, I will most likely end up in that same place. So in fact, I don't think the pain ever goes away. We just integrate it. Pain is just a reflection of an aspect of my being that is unconscious. It's a reflection of it in the physical world. The thinking and the confused thoughts and the stories I tell myself around that are also a reflection of that. So when that part of my emotional body comes up and is allowed to move, then that part of that reflection doesn't have to be there.